All right, so kind of run into an issue with these axles. I don't know what else we're gonna do right now. What's up, everyone? We're back here working on the truck some more, trying to get this 8.8 finished. Today is welding day. We're gonna weld up all those brackets. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, as you can see, I have the rear end jig back in there. Now, I'm not sure if it's really necessary, probably not to have it in there when welding these brackets on, but I still have it here. I haven't given it back. So I figured I might as well throw it in just to be on the safe side. Can't hurt, right? I'm gonna start on this side. I'll probably weld like this one, and then I'll go over to the other side, weld one on that side, and then keep going back and forth and letting it cool. I will keep you updated on my progress. All right, so I got a few of them welded so far. I got this one and that one. So I'm trying to do both sides of these ones. If I can get, I don't know if I'll be able to get into this one on the inside, but I'll try on the shocks, but I'll definitely obviously do the outside, and then these two, I'll only be able to do the outside. I could do a little bit of the inside part there, but I won't be able to go all the way in. But so far it's welding pretty good. I think it's turning out all right. I'm getting kind of low on welding gas, so I don't know if I'm gonna have enough to finish tonight, but we'll see. I got almost all of it done. Then of course I ran out of gas for the welders. Got all the bottom ones welded, both sides on all of them. And then I got this one welded right here. I still have to do that one and these two. So that's pretty good considering I was pretty low on gas and I didn't think I was gonna be able to do as much as I did. If I don't think of anything else to do tonight and I just go in, then we'll continue this tomorrow once I go get the gas filled and can finish welding this thing. All right, so I never ended up doing anything else that night. I came out here yesterday after getting the gas and ended up finishing all the welds on here. So this is all fully welded now. I put the caliper brackets on. As you can see, this is just mocked up calipers on so I could figure out the brake lines. So what I ended up doing here was just welding a nut to the axle tube to put a bolt in to hold the hose. So then this hose goes up into the frame. And I went and got a metal brake line. I just bent it to fit. Same thing over here. And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna make a little clip out of some sheet metal that's gonna go here, bolt to this factory mount here, and we'll hold the brake line in place nice. And then maybe after it's all painted, I can throw a zip tie over each one of these sides if it needs it to keep it from moving around, but I think it should be pretty sturdy. Once I get that little clip made, then I'm gonna take all that off and I'm gonna take the housing outside and I'm gonna wash it with the pressure washer on the inside really good because it's dirty from metal shavings to oil to everything. So I wanna clean it all up nice and then bring it in, let it dry, and then pretty much it's ready to paint. Put the bearings in, the seals, which I still have to get. The seals I tried to get some today and they're out. But I already got the gear oil, I got paint. I have the front pinion seal already. I can put the gear set back in. My axles are at the border. I have to make a run to the border to pick them up because shipping was gonna be way too much to get them shipped here. So it's only like an hour and a half drive to the border from here. So I'm gonna go do that on Saturday. So in the meantime, I'm trying to get all this other stuff done so that come Saturday I can get the axles, slide them in, and put the rear end in the truck and get it on the ground. So I'm gonna make that little tab now and then take it all apart. There it is. What I'm gonna do is once final assembly is, I'll just tap this down, which will enclose the line to keep it from moving out of there. Took the rear end outside and pressure washed it. It's all pretty clean now. Painted those up, the yoke, and then I put a first coat on the calipers over there, which I cleaned up pretty good. They could be better, but they should be all right once I get a few coats of paint on them. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is just getting some stuff painted up. All right, so I got the calipers all painted. They're all dry now, looking pretty good. I put probably 4 or 5 coats of paint on, but they look nice and shiny now, except for there because I dropped it on the floor. So touch that up a bit. Knocked the bearings in. So I'm ready to put the seals, backing plates, those other plates for the emergency brake stuff. So that's what we're gonna do now, is we're gonna start putting all that stuff back in, put the posi, center section, gears and pinion and all that stuff in. Tomorrow I'm gonna pick up the axles and I wanna have it ready for the axles to go in. But first, I have to go look at a car, possible project car for the channel, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to take a look at this car. I won't tell you what it is right now. We'll have to see when I pick it up, if I pick it up. But then once I come back from there, then I'm going to get back to work on there, which will be now. All right, I'm back. The car I went and looked at was kind of a piece of junk, but it was just a car that I was looking to buy for my daughter so she could drive while we're looking for a Cobalt, because we're still looking for a Turbo SS Cobalt. If you know anybody who has one for a good price. But the car was a piece of junk. So anyways, doesn't matter. So now I put the axle seals in. There's one on that side, one on that side, obviously. Now I'm going to put on the caliper brackets and these, which is the backing plate, which I cut part of it off, but this is to hold the emergency brake stuff. Maybe we'll get the emergency brake pads and or shoes and everything on. Plus I also want to put the posi center section in, so we'll do that now. All right, so there's that side, and that side's on. And then I put the pinion seal in, put the bearing back in there, so now the pinion can go in, and then the center section can go in. Okay, so here's the gears and posi unit, and I actually, when I took it out, I put the bearing race and the spacer on the side that it belongs and zip tied it so that it'll stay for the alignment. Here's the pinion. And this is the crush sleeve. So when you get this new, it's bigger, and then as you tighten it, it crushes down some to get your so that your pinion has the amount of drag it needs. But because these are the same gears going in, I'm just going to use the same one and pretty much just tighten it up and feel for it. So I shouldn't have to crush the sleeve anymore. Just goes in here like so. And then I have to get the yoke, put it on the other side, and then tighten it up. So when you put this on, there's a couple ways to do it. One, you can use like an inch pound like wrench and check for drag, or you can just go like this and just feel for it. You know, you don't want it to have too much drag, and you don't want to have too little. You also don't want it to be loose. So that's usually how I do it. It always seems to work out pretty good. This yoke also, if you've probably seen it in another video, but this yoke was off like an early 80s Ford pickup with an 8.8. Most 8.8s come with this style, this flange style, which I did not want to use. Strange sells a flange like that, old school style flange. It's like 90 bucks American. So I found this one at the Junkyard. I did some research. I found out these like early 80s Ford trucks, I guess after the 9-inch, when they first went to the 8.8, they used this kind of yoke. They're kind of hard to find, but I got lucky and I found one. So yeah, that's on there. So now I can just use a regular U-joint. So yeah, the next thing to go in will be the center section. You drop the center section in with your bearing caps, and then the shims go on each side. You put them on just like you took them off. Put the caps on just like you took them off. And then I haven't torqued them yet, but I'll torque them to whatever the torque spec is. And then you should have a little bit of play. And that feels really good. If you were setting up a new gear set, that's a totally different thing. And then you want to paint the teeth and look for wear patterns and all that stuff. But being at this rear end, I just took it apart and now I just put it back together. So I'm not going to have to do any of that stuff. Everything feels really nice. I'm not sure what else I can do. I'm getting to where I'm going to need those axles, which I'm not going to have till tomorrow. By tomorrow, it should be pretty much ready to go in. I still have to paint upper lower bars. I got to give the frame a quick paint job and all that, but I'm hoping by the end of this weekend that the rear end's in, maybe bleed the brakes, and then we're almost ready to go. All right, so I ended up getting those brake shoes on. I went on pretty easy. I test fitted one of the rotors. I need to torque these bolts. I read online they're like 85 foot-pounds. The old trusty bendy. And we will torque them up. It's all good. Alright, so that's done. Brakes are on. I mean, not the brakes, the emergency brake shoes. They're pretty simple. There's this little mechanism which were seized. I had to get them loose. And there's this big spring, a little spring, the adjuster, these two spring holder things. And that's pretty much it. And then when you have a cable on there and you pull it, whatever, it moves the brake shoes. On this side, I just put the rotor on to make sure that those shoes look like they were fitting nice and everything. Kind of when I put it on, the one shoe wasn't totally sitting flat, but there's lots of room in here, clearance, so it's not going to make a... I thought it might rub or something, but it should be fine. The only thing I still have to do, which I kind of forgot, is I'm going to have to mark and drill these rotors for like Chevy 5 on 4 3/4 pattern, because these are Ford pattern right now. My axles are Chevy, and of course the wheels are Chevy, so that's going to have to be done before these can go on for good once I get the axles. So we'll have to do that tomorrow. Maybe when Clayton's here, he'll want to drill them. I actually noticed something when I was taking the rotors out of the box. A lot of guys are saying that the rotors on the front of my truck were on backwards because of the way the vents and stuff go. But I just noticed that this is the first rotor I pulled out. I put it on this side, which is the left side, driver's side, and it says left side. And the one for the other side shows that it's a right side. So actually, if you go by those boxes, I do have them on right, except they say it doesn't matter. This is a solid rotor, so it really doesn't matter. But on the front, where the little vents are in between here, if they're straight inside there, it doesn't matter. If they're pointed to one way, then they need to, if they're pointed kind of like this way, they need to go on a certain side, because then that captures the air as it goes by. If they're straight like these ones are, it doesn't matter. A few people have commented after the big brake upgrade on the front. They commented about that. And I just wanted to show that I actually had it on right. We'll continue this tomorrow when I get the axles, throw them in, and get this thing buttoned up. Alright, so I'm back from the border. I went for the quick border run to pick up the axles. So yeah, let's take a look at them. You're seeing them for the first time just like me. And they came from this company called Dutchman Motorsports, which is out of the United States. Oh, and I need a razor blade. I might have said before I was going to buy Mosers, but it ended up being more money. Quite a bit more money than getting these ones. So I figured it's all about the budget. Let's get them from here. Whoa. And there we go. That's an axle. It's got the Dutchman logo. It's got the wheel studs already installed. That was not, I didn't have to pay extra. I paid extra for the wheel studs. They were $250, and then they were $20 for the studs, and then a bit for the shipping, and that's it. So let's just hope they fit. I'm sure they will. Here's the other one. Same. So now we'll have to throw those in there, and nothing else in here. You know, I like it when companies send stickers. It's always fun, but no stickers this time. Oh well. Alright, so yeah, now we'll have to get test fit these things. All we should have to do now is take these, just slide them in. Okay, so that's so far so good. Get the C-clip, push it in, then drop it. And that's it, she's in there. Well, I would say that looks pretty good. There's clearance here. I think that's pretty much where they go. Of course, I can't put the rotor on because the bolt pattern doesn't line up. But what I actually read, I actually watched another YouTube video yesterday. A guy says all you got to do is take these 5 holes and drill them like one size bigger. So I don't know if you can see it, but they almost fit the holes. Because I mean, this is 4.5 bolt circle. This is 4 3/4 bolt circle. And so they say you just drill the hole one size bigger and it fits and doesn't cause any issues. I mean, once everything's bolted up, this is clamped, you know, between the axle and the wheel. It can't move. I'm pretty sure my Willwood brakes on my car are actually like that. They have oblong holes or bigger holes. So we're still gonna have to do that. Yeah, here we go. side number 2. And they also slide in really nice. There we go. Now the pin goes back in. And then just tighten her up and it should be good to go. Kind of run into an issue with these axles. So I put them in and they fit great. Everything's fine. The length seems to be good. My issue with them is this little piece here, which they call the button. This one is 0.305, which is what they're supposed to be. That's the size. But these ones are 0.240. So they're too thin. So when I put the axles in, I'm getting excessive like clunk, 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 like they're going in and out too much. So I don't know. I sent them an email. Of course, it's the weekend, so I'm not going to hear back from them, I'm sure, till Monday, which kind of screws me here to get this rear end in. I was hoping to have it in like by the end of the weekend. So I'm going to have to wait and hear from them of what I can do. I could weld on the top of here and, you know, build it up a tiny bit, but these are heat treated and I don't think welding on the top is good. I think it would damage the heat treating. I could also weld a washer on there or something. You know, my issue is I live in Canada, so to get these shipped back and get new ones, and it's going to be a real pain in the butt. Plus, you know, I mean, unless they're planning on covering all that, which they should, because this isn't my fault. I look back on my paperwork and I did specify the size of these. So, I mean, obviously it was just an accident. Somehow they got made too small. I don't know. So, I guess we're going to put the rear end install on hold, at least this part, and move on to doing something else until I hear back from them on Monday. And then I'll go from there. If it was an issue of, you know, I got them used or something, I would just weld on top of them, but I shouldn't have to do that on a brand new set of axles. But like I said, it's a lot harder for me to get stuff shipped since we live in Canada, you know, to get it shipped back and forth. And I drove 3 hours today to go to the border to pick the stuff up, you know, there and back to pick the stuff up. I don't really want to have to drive back there again. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, and I guess we'll move on to something else. I put this square tubing back here a long time ago to hold the compressors and all that. Well, that kind of made getting at this back bolt hole for the box hard, especially with the roll pan and everything. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the drill and I'm going to drill a hole right through this tubing all the way to the bottom, and then put a longer bolt that'll bolt from there, which will be a lot easier to get at. So simple. I'm just going to drill a couple holes, and then after that, I think I'm going to pull these lower brackets off and clean them up. And I had welded a piece of steel on here to for dragging purposes. So I'm going to clean that up and maybe cut that off and weld a different piece on or whatever. Might as well get all this other stuff done, you know, get the frame cleaned up and painted. And I still think I'm going to do something here for like a reinforcement of this bracket, a little piece of tubing that goes from here to here or something just to strengthen it up. And then get the frame all like painted up and be ready for the axle to go in once I get some kind of fix for these axles. Feel like a machinist here, making chips look crazy. Woo. Ended up cutting more of it out and then just welding a nice piece in there. I also reinforced it at the back because it seemed like it was bending. And then I did the same thing on this side. So now I'm going to work on the these front leaf spring hangers, or front 4-bar hangers. So like I said before, I had welded this piece of steel on. This one is actually broken through. So I'm going to cut all that off, clean them all up, and paint them and stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I got those brackets all cleaned up, and then I welded, hopefully it's not too hot. I welded some new pieces of steel on there, cut the old ones off. A lot nicer welded than it was before. Kind of welded them on the truck before, so they were kind of shitty and blobby, but that looks pretty good. It protects the these lower brackets from the ground. So Now I think I can just clean them up a bit more, paint them, and they're pretty much ready to go back on. And then, I don't know what else to do today. Hopefully next time we're gonna figure out a solution for those axles so that we can actually get this rear end finished and in the truck. In the meantime, I'm just gonna continue doing the frame cleanup and get things painted and cleaned up. But that'll have to wait till next time. So, like always, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll check you later.
Here we go again. We can't hear anybody. Nobody can talk to anybody. And I'd like to kick your fucking head in.